Can you raise cattle without owning any land? Yes. We're going to show you how to do it. I know, guys, I'm sorry I don't have the hat on. I look like a hood rat right now. It is misting, but we're going to get through it. If you don't have land and you want to own cattle, then you're not alone, because I don't own land and I wanted cattle. So what did I do? You know, I am blessed. I do have parents who do own our family ranch, and that is an advantage, in that in itself is not going to be relatable for everybody. Some of you, yes. So if you do have parents and you did grow up on a ranch, well, you have an advantage to where you can show interest in wanting to either carry on that ranch or start your own new ranch or do something on the side of the ranch that is currently operating. But if you don't have that, this video is really for you, because I know it's possible, because I've seen it happen with multiple people who don't have land and wanted to start a ranch for the first time, or even a homestead, something like that. Number one, I want you to think about what type of operation you want. I want you to do your research. And this might sound stupid, because I know I've said in the past, you know, learning through action is the best way of learning, making mistakes, things like that. Yes. But the fact is you can't learn with action yet, because you don't own anything and you're not in the game. If you're not working for a rancher right now and you're not actively doing any of that work, you can't learn from experience. So first of all, I want you to do some research. Figure out what type of operation you want to learn. But after you do that, you're going to start to see that there's a lot of different types of operations. And some of them may be more, you know, available in your area. So in my area, we do have a lot of feedlots, but we also have a decent amount of cow-calf. I'm kind of in an area where there's a good mixture. You know, there's a lot of corn in my area. Pasture is becoming harder to find, but it is still, you know, there's still pasture around. Where if you go, you know, farther west of here and you get closer to the mountains, you may find less and less corn, more and more wide range pasture. And if you go east of here, you're going to be pretty much seeing cornfields and feedlots, and that is it. So find out what type of operation you want to have, but also make sure it matches where you want to live, right? Because, you know, there's a reason over in Iowa and places like that where they have less pasture and more cornfields, that they have more just feedlots, because there's not a lot of pasture around. Whereas if you go closer to the mountains, you know, there's not as many cornfields around. Feedlots are less, you know, available. It just makes sense based on the location. What are your goals? Are you just trying to have a hobby farm or hobby ranch? Or are you trying to make money, trying to have a profitable ranch? You know, me, I'm starting with 3 head. I'm going to prove that you can build out a scalable direct-to-consumer business with 3 head right there, documenting the whole thing on this channel. So if that interests you, go ahead and subscribe. Figure out what you want to actually do, what your goals are, and come up with a little bit of a plan. And I can help you do that, but come up with a little bit of a plan as to what you're trying to do. And then I want you to find somebody in the industry, somebody who has done it for a long time, somebody who's the older generation looking to retire in the next, you know, 5 to 10 years. Somebody who may be willing to share that experience, and reach out to them. You know, people are always quick to say, well, no, I don't have anybody to teach me. Well, have you ever asked? Have you ever asked? There are a lot of people in this industry, guys, who are willing to share their information. You know, they've worked hard their entire life. They lived through the 80s, the hardest time for farmers and ranchers, and they want to share what knowledge they have. And you need to be open about hearing what they have. And a good way to do this would be to find all of the operations in your area and list them all out. Even if they're, you know, a little bit different, if they're similar to what you want to have, or even if, you know, they just have something that you want or some sort of information you think you can get for them, and list them all out. And I want you to contact every single one of them. You might say, well, I don't want to do that. Well, how bad do you want this? How bad do you want to own a ranch? If you're on this video right now, maybe God is telling you and calling you to the ranch. Maybe this life is meant for you. Maybe you can build a profitable ranch. So if it's your sign and this is what you want to do, how bad do you want to do it? How much work are you willing to take? You know, because at the end of the day, your life is a story. The bigger the hardship, the sweeter the story. One day when you're looking back at your grandkids and they're saying, hey, grandma, grandpa, how did you guys build this ranch? How did you build this ranch that you're passing on to us? And you're going to say, you know, I had no experience. but I wanted to learn. And I went into it and I found every single person and I messaged every single one of them. All of them said no. All of them said no. And I kept with it and I kept with it. And soon somebody said yes. Somebody gave me a chance. And that's how it started. I mean, what kind of story is that? That would be huge to pass on to your grandkids. Not only that, but showing them how hard you worked for it, how hard you tried for it. You know what I mean? And it's setting you up for success because ranching can be difficult. There's going to be years that are harder. You know, I've worked in ag finance, for the last 4 years, and it's very obvious that, some years are easier than others. Some years are harder. And I grew up in ranching, witnessing this from my parents. It is not easy. There's a lot of hard work and a lot of things you got to do that you don't want to do. But we wouldn't trade it for the world. You know what I mean? If God's telling you to do this, how much effort are you willing to put into it? So after you do that, I want you to learn from these people. Ask them. Don't ask them for anything. Don't ask them for anything other than the chance to learn. See if they'll let you come work for them for free for a weekend, or just come look around and ask some questions about their operation. See if you can get them on the phone and have a quick phone call about what they do and why they do some things, and ask them for advice, things like that. Let them know you're interested. There's so many of them that are be willing to share what they know. There can probably be some of them, if you're from the city, I'm sorry, but some of them are going to think that they're just going to teach you a lesson by showing you what real work is about. There's going to be some like that. I promise you. I don't mean anything bad by that, but that's how some of them are going to treat you. There might be one who sees that curiosity, and it could be one of those ones who initially thinks that, but they're going to see a little bit of that curiosity in you. They're going to see that interest in you. And when you prove yourself, how bad you want this, how bad you're willing to work for it, they might just give you a chance. Soon you'll find somebody who you'll just know is the right person. And you ask, hey, if I buy one cow, maybe even from them, if I buy one cow, one steer, we'll say one steer, would you let me raise it on your land in either exchange for labor, or I'll pay rent, either yard space if it's a feedlot, or pasture if it's cow-calf, maybe buy a cow. Depending on the operation, whatever specifics, blah, we won't worry about that in this video. We won't worry about that yet. Just one animal. Would you be willing to let me utilize some of your space? I won't take away from any of your operation, but I will ask you to teach me how to run this animal on your operation. And you make the decisions yet. I don't make the decisions, but I watch that process through something that I own and I have a little bit of ownership in. I would be grateful for it. And they might just give you a chance. And after that, you slowly go from there. You don't force anything. Remember, if God's calling you to do this, how could you fail? It doesn't matter how many years it takes you to build up a full ranch. If you start small and get a proven, profitable system, you can eventually buy your own land. You can eventually get your own yard space. I've heard countless stories of ranches getting passed on to their next generation, and that next generation thinks they know what they're doing without putting in the hard work, and they end up losing the entire operation. Gets sold to an investor, land torn up, all cornfield, pivots swinging around where the house used to sit. Just because somebody grows up on a ranch doesn't mean that you cannot pass them. It all comes down to how bad you want this. How bad do you really want this? If you're serious about ranching, I ask you to subscribe to the channel. If you're serious about ranching, homesteading, getting started, or making your family operation profitable, we're here to help family operations stay in the game next year and years to come. Because we're tired of seeing investors buy up all these farmers and ranchers, family generations and legacies, and plowing over them. I'm here to help you. And the more subscribers I have, the more time and effort I can put into this channel, this value I can provide for you. If you are an active rancher and are considering Agri Summit, link will be in the description. I thank you guys for watching. God bless.